Hi, I'm Debra Gotch, and I am a very proud 52-year-old who has and is going through the menopausal phase right now. So I'm so delighted to share with you some of the things that I've actually done myself in order to change habits that allowed me to feel so much better, so much more vital, so much more energized, actually feel like me again through the menopause. Because rolling back, oh my gosh, about 9 months ago now, I did not feel this way at all. I felt absolutely awful. I would wake up in the morning and just literally want to not move from the bed, to be honest. I just felt so low and I was very tearful. I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't feel like I had any control over it. So I was feeling really, really powerless and I hated it. And it affected my relationships. It affected the way I felt about myself. My confidence levels really dipped. And obviously the productivity of what I got done in a day as well, it was just like pretty much non-existent. Kind of like wanted to just withdraw and just hide away. And I think that's what happens with a lot of women. It affects their work, it affects how their partnerships, how they treat their children, obviously then their physical habits, what they eat as well. Sometimes we comfort food eat, or we drink too much, and always skip everything. So it's really quite a challenging time of life. And I was in some ways prepared for it because over the last 20 odd years, I've been in the beauty industry, absolutely loved every aspect of that. So I've worked with a lot of people, I've learned, I've listened, and I've had a lot of that professional experience too in working with various products, meeting different specialists along the way as well. And over the last 7 years, I was introduced to a really amazing ethical company that allows people to really like change their health habits through products, and products that are really superior in terms of that they're really clean for the body and they're not going to add to a toxic load. So I've learned all about how normal things that we take for granted in the day-to-day that we use in terms of products or supplements or food and things that we eat has changed over the years. And a lot of the time, some of those things that mostly, to be honest, that we put into our body have got quite toxic chemicals that impact how our hormones react, but also other functions in the body as well, which is going to put more energy tied to clearing them out of the body because of the toxic load that they're adding to us. So I've learned all these different things. I've learned all about mindset because 11 years ago, I trained as a corporate coach, and that was working with lots of things around stress, work-life balance, being able to build people's confidence, being able to be more productive, all of those practical sides of things, and also personal performance as well, which is really looking at how we can set goals for ourselves, how we can change our mindset if we are, not feeling great one day. How do we then switch up our emotions to help guide us through feeling more positive and more motivated? So I've learned all these things, and I'm also an NLP practitioner too. So this is working with those parts of the brain that we don't often become aware of, and we run on autopilot. So our subconscious thoughts pretty much drive us as human beings. It's where we actually do our day-to-day habits and we don't even think about them. So we don't challenge them. And some of those habits are not really serving us. So it's one of my jobs is to be able to help people really see what they're doing consciously and subconsciously. And that's why we make most of our changes through our conscious and unconscious parts of our brain when we combine the two. So that gives you a little bit of an overview. I knew going back several months ago that I had to make changes because there was no way on earth I wanted my life to continue this way, because I couldn't see a happy future if that was the case. And I didn't want to be one of those people where they just succumb to it and just like, yo, well, I've just got to ride it out. No, because a lot of the time in the research I've done since, sometimes this goes on for years and years and years and years. And again, I wasn't prepared to waste my time, my life, and my happiness being consumed by these feelings. So I really dipped deep and decided I have to take control. So the first thing that I did was I made a decision to become empowered, to take responsibility rather than riding along reactively to all what was happening and how I was feeling, and taking responsibility. The second thing I did was make a commitment to myself. I wanted that commitment to be me. I was taking full ownership of this, and I knew that it was down to me to make the changes within my body that I could influence. Obviously, we have some external factors that we cannot influence, but we can always decide how we respond to these things. And if you're not used to having that empowerment where you are really taking a back of a situation and really assessing it first and then responding in the best way, then again, that is just a habit. You can actually learn how to help program your mind to be more proactive and respond how you want to respond. And also to forward see as well, isn't it? It's not about just like waiting for something to happen. It's about anticipating, well, what are the possibilities that could happen? Therefore, I'm going to safeguard my responsibilities or my reactions in order to get over these little hurdles that you can anticipate along the way. And that's exactly what I did. So that commitment was there. And I committed to 3 months of absolutely working on me, working on what I was doing in my habits. And those habits involved a few areas. So firstly, my thoughts. So that was the number one thing. How was I thinking about menopause? Which I had been thinking about, oh my gosh, this is me turning into a little old lady. Didn't like that prospect. And obviously we have a whole host of different emotions when our body starts changing. We know it is that period of life where the body is no longer being able to produce our ovaries and everything in terms of our reproduction cycles and everything else. So it is a massive transition. And also, what happens along with our thoughts is often our, I guess, really confidence can take a dip as well then. So mine certainly did. And sometimes you can question your purposefulness in life as well, because often this happens at a time, not for everybody, because I know a lot of people also hit early menopause. But if you are in the stage of life where you tending to think, well, the kids have left home now, what do I do now? And there's a lot of other uncertainties around it. Or you may be even looking ahead and thinking about, well, what my retirement year is going to be like. So we have a whole host of thoughts that go on, which can be individual to you. So, but obviously there are some that are very common as well. So I dealt with my thoughts. I put everything into place that I thought, well, okay, this is going to serve me so much better by thinking these things than actually allowing all this negativity and uncertainty to come in and cause me anxiety. And stress is a massive factor as well in anything where our hormones are affected, because we need to handle our stress. Otherwise, it's going to accelerate those reactions even more. Hence, we're going to have more hot flushes, more mood swings and everything else, and not be able to sleep well. So that is huge. Our emotions are how we feel in the day to day. So that was the next thing that I looked at. And these are linked to your thoughts. So what I do now is I help people really understand that connection between what you think, that creates a picture in your mind, that then brings that emotion, that feeling to it. Because when we see things visually in our mind's eye, we actually start to feel something as a response to that as well. So it's about really helping you identify what emotions there are. That's what I did with myself. What was I feeling in the day to day? And was that a good thing? Was it a bad thing? And when did it shift and change in the day? So a lot of what we do and is really like looking at ourselves on the inside and becoming so much more aware, being aware of what changes things, being aware of what serves you and what doesn't serve you. And it's a real eye-opener when you really start to look inwards, because again, a lot of people just go through life and just don't really think twice about these things because they don't think that they can change anything about it. But you can. You're 100% in control of that, which is amazing. So after looking at your emotions and being able to handle those better, that obviously has a knock-on effect to how you feel in what you're doing in the day-to-day with confidence levels, whether it's at the workplace or whether it's in a relationship or any other things that you're dealing with. But also it's about just making that confidence within you feel better, and along with that comes self-care. So the other thing obviously that is massive in anything where we are changing or wanting to influence hormones is what we are putting in our mouths. What are you eating on the day to day? What are you drinking on the day to day? What are you breathing in your environment in the day to day? And all these factors are more working with the physical side of things. So yes, we know that exercise and movement and fresh air is great for us, but also the main thing is what you're eating, what you are consuming, and more importantly, what you are absorbing. Because what I didn't realize many years ago, after I'd had a brain tumor, which I know I haven't quite mentioned that, but I did have a brain tumor 14 years ago, after literally 4 days after my baby was born, my daughter. And that was a huge life-changing, massive adversity call for me to get over. But I did, and I know that there's many of you listening to this now that probably also have had these massive life events that you have to dig deep and be able to just muster up some kind of courage and that little bit inside you that goes, do you know what, this isn't going to beat me, I am going to get over this. And this is again looking at menopause. If you are having a really challenging time in this phase, then just know that you can get over it. And it's a transition, isn't it? So it's how we transition that makes the difference to it becoming easier. And that's ideally what I would love to help you with, knowing from my own journey and obviously from my professional aspects what I can do to help navigate this far more easily, quicker, feeling good again, getting back to your life and feeling happy and purposeful about what you're doing in the day to day. So food is massive. The reason why this is huge is because a lot of the time, unfortunately nowadays, we need extra things into our food, such as supplements. And I was really a little bit averse to this at first, until again I did the research and realized that there are so many foods out there that are produced en masse now, and often these can be genetically modified, so they're not always very clean foods, and they've been created, so they're not actually from nature. And that's what we want to do, is really have a diet that is all whole foods and ideally organic. And that is great to have as a foundation, but you would also need to use, and probably because of our lifestyles now, because we do experience a lot of stress, what we've got this kind of culture around us, haven't we, where we're always on the end of a mobile phone, always contactable, got devices around everywhere. They emit certain electrical fields as well around them and affect our energy in so many other ways. And we have so many other stresses and factors in life that we have in the external world, but also the pressures that we put on ourselves, that creates also oxidative stress, which again we need far more antioxidants, which are foods that are really power foods, nutritious, that helps to prevent a lot of the free radical damage which often happens with oxidative stress. Which I go more into as well, in not here, but in a different video. And basically what we would be doing now without supplements is having to consume so much more different nutrients from our foods, which would mean eating a lot more food, which obviously is quite expensive, but it's also quite uncomfortable, isn't it? If you're having to eat, say, 10 oranges instead of one, because the nutrients are not there like they were 10 years ago, because of the chemicals that they're grown with, the amount of time that they're held in storage, the soils haven't got the same nutrients and the density of minerals and everything else as they did years ago. So everything has just become over farmed. So it's become essential to have a supplementation to your actual whole food diet. And that's one thing that I knew about from probably about 5 years ago now. I aligned with the company that allowed me to change my whole nutrition, which allowed obviously any excess weight, pounds, whatever you want to call it, inches around that mid area, to be shed. But also it was more than that. It's like resetting the whole body, which is really helping to balance out hormones. It also helps to alkalize the body as well, which, if you've not heard of alkalinity before, it's basically putting your body in a really optimum prime condition so that you're able to live with a greater resistance to any kind of like illnesses or disease in the body. And that's because a lot of like things like infections, bacteria, etc., do not like alkaline environment. They thrive in acidic conditions, and this is knowing then really what foods are more alkaline and producing, but also ones that are more acid producing, and being able to swap those. So you reduce the inflammation in the body as well, and that allows to decrease any bloating. It also gives a lot more mental clarity. I could not believe the energy that I had after I had done this program the first time. I was like, oh, I wouldn't have believed it. If I hadn't have done it, I would never, ever have believed it. But having done that, as I said, for the first time about 5 years or so ago now, I kind of like came back to that when I was going through the menopause in a really heavy, challenging time, because I knew that I would need to obviously change my eating habits again, which I have been eating very healthily for a number of years since learning all those things then. But what I knew then as well was that I'd probably need to do it in a more concentrated form. So rather than just do a month of being like that and eating all the right things and avoiding anything that was going to inflame in my body, I would need to do it longer. And I knew from talking with other people with other health conditions and how they had made an effect on their bodies, it was over like a 3-month period. So my brain said, well, okay, I need to do this for 3 months and then see where I'm at from then. And if I need to do it longer, I will do. But I knew from having had the experience previously that it was going to be effective. I just didn't know how effective. And I'm not saying that this is going to be a cure-all for everybody at all. It's not a medical thing. It's basically resetting your body by having the things that irritate it and that are normally cause allergic reactions or inflammation, being avoiding those things, but then powering the body with supplements that help it really restore, to help it to be able to work as effectively as it possibly can. And in turn, what happens is your body just starts functioning in a lot better way. So you find that you have the energy, you get the mental clarity, you lose the bloating and all the other things that go along with that. So that was a must for me, and I did it after 3 months. I'd probably say in about the 2.5-month window, I was like, wow, I can actually sleep at night without having a million hot flushes. And my obviously that then improves everything else, doesn't it? My mood and everything. So I know from doing that, I've then gone back to eating 80-20, which means 80% of the time I have all of this good nutritious food, taking into play everything that I've learned of what serves my body and what doesn't. And then 20% of the time I basically have a glass of wine or a coffee or whatever I'm wanting. So it's a really good balance. But I do know, because I've done it, that if I then revert back to say 50% of all those kind of like naughty category things, then the flushes come back, I start to not feel good, my mood starts to shift and change. So it does make a massive difference. But I find that having the 80-20, it gives you that balance, it gives you that lifestyle choices still, and you don't feel like you're being deprived. But I did do 3 months without breaking it at all. And to be honest, it was easy because I could see the results as I was feeling better each day. It gave me more inspiration. And obviously, like with any body reset, it's not like a detox as such. It's so much more than that, because it's about powering what needs to be in your body. But I would say that you always go through a period. Usually for me, it's anything between 5 and 9 days where your body starts missing the usual things that it has, and it starts craving. And I had a few headaches, I felt a bit low, a bit more teary, but I knew that would pass, and it did, obviously. And I feel really good, and I still feel really good, and this is like a lot of months on, several months on. Yes, so what else did I do? Skincare. As we age, we lose a lot of our collagen, elasticity, things start to drastically sag. And if you're happy with that and you don't mind those things, fine. I'm going to do all I can to stay as youthful, as vital as possible, and taking what nature gave me and God gave me, and making the most of it. So I haven't had anything, like in terms of surgery or injections or anything like that. I prefer to do things the natural way. That's who I am. I like holistic things. If I can turn to nature and plant sources and everything else, then I will do. So skincare is massive. So I made sure I did my regime, which I've been doing now for 7 years, again with the same company, because it has unparalleled results of all the beauty industry that I have experienced, all the professional products. This just wins hands down. So if anyone is interested in knowing how you can really restore that collagen elasticity, the glow in your skin, then I would say yes, I can help with that. Also hair. So I noticed my hair started to really shed a lot, and I knew that again things had to change. And a lot of the time when we lose hair, it's because our scalps are so dry, and often you can get itching as well. And if you are colouring your hair, obviously they are drying processes on the hair. I did train as a hairdresser many years ago, along with my beauty therapy as well. But and what I would say is that you need things that really give a lot of nutrition to the scalp. And again, I use the same company because it's got every single product I could possibly need. And I know that everything is really pure, it's safe, it's non-toxic, it's all vegan, it's all plant-based, but it mixes the best of science, and it's Swiss heritage, which basically means it's the best in the world in terms of standards. And they actually don't allow 2,000 ingredients into their products because they're known to actually cause problems with our skin, hair, body, or obviously going into our systems and going through our bloodstreams, intra-hormones. And a lot of the time where companies like shampoos and stuff that I used to use before, and I'd literally have a brush full of hair, and I'd never get shine on my hair as well, and it just looked dull and not very full of life. It was lifeless. And once again, I didn't realize before I know what I know now, that what you are using makes such a difference, and it's about that nutrition to the scalp foremost, and that will then help to condition the hair and everything else as your hair then starts to grow. But obviously you don't want things that are lank or making the hair feel quite weighted down with things as well. So they've got some incredible styling products that I can hook you up with if that's something that is important to you. Okay, so we've looked at the physical side, which is what we're eating, reducing the inflammation, the importance of the gut health, which I didn't mention, massively key, because with the gut health especially, and most people's guts, if you've been stressed for one or taken any medication, a lot of that gut health has been affected because of the bacteria in there, and it can soon get damaged. So what, again, we do with this program is to be able to help to restore that gut health. And it's just your gut health, I don't know if you know this, but it's about 70% responsible for your immune system. So if you're often getting colds, not feeling good, picking things up, it's because often a lot of the gut health issues are going on. Secondary things that can happen with gut health as well is things like reflux. So if people are getting reflux symptoms, or that bloating side as well, or things like your irritable bowels and other things that are causing from intolerances with the foods and the reactions that you're getting with that. So again, that will definitely be supported to help support your body in a better way. And also with your gut health too, this is responsible for 90% production of serotonin. Serotonin is your happy hormone. So if we're thinking about when we're menopausal, my mood was on the floor at times. I was just like, I couldn't even smile. I just felt so bad, and just didn't have the energy to muster up to actually, go like this. And that production of serotonin is so key in menopause, because it's going to fuel those happy hormones, just like when we have nice chocolate and nice things. But we want that to stay, don't we? We don't want that to be a fleeting pleasure and happiness for a moment. We want to feel that way and to help to become much more positive. And again, not just on the physical thing that you can take control of, but also your thoughts, how you can then start to focus on more of the positive things, and the appreciation, the gratitude and everything else, and mindfulness and all these wonderful tools that you can do as well. So physical side, skin, hair, body. Exercise, yoga is fantastic because it also helps support balance, which is working both sides of the brain. I've been doing yoga. You can do Pilates. You can do HIIT if you want. I do a little bit, but not much. And to be honest, for the first few months of this, I didn't do any exercise whatsoever. Just walking a little bit, and just gentle. I wanted to see what differences would be made without the exercise, but you don't have to. If you love exercise, if it's what you want to do, perfect. I would really advocate that. And the thoughts, the emotions, and that is just really it. So it's changing your habits, changing your day to day, changing what you normally do, because everything with our brains are really kind of, if you think about plasticine, it's malleable, isn't it? You can change it, you can reshape it. Same with our brains. We have neural pathways, which are basically from the initial thought that we have, and then the behavior at the end of that thought that we do. We have a pathway that gets formed. And when we are changing our habits, it doesn't happen often overnight, but it does happen gradually. So if you think about 21 days, 28 days or so to establish a new habit, that is the phone. I'm sorry. I'm going to pause it. I'm back again. So those neural pathways can be all newly put in place. So whatever pathway you have now, so what current behavior you have, current thought that you have, that pathway can be changed. And that is the power of working with your mind and developing new habits. And obviously, if this is something that you listen to and you think, oh my gosh, I want to do this, give me a shout, let me know, and I can help you do that. I can hook you up with the products that you can be using. I can support you along that journey and give you some exercises, tools, and various things to help to change how you think, and which then obviously impacts how you feel as well, and how you look in the day to day. And I'd love to just really be that beacon of light for you, because at the end of the day, you don't have to be going through this on your own, for one. That is key. I felt so isolated and alone, especially when I had that trip to the doctors, absolutely in my most desperate moment. I remember literally coming home, dropping my child off at school. Sophie was at school, and on the way home, and I just kind of stopped in the car. I rang the doctors and I just said, can I get an appointment? Because I thought, I'm desperate. I need to go on HRT. I don't want to go on it, but I need to. And I didn't want to, purely because of my brain tumor. And again, I didn't want to have any impact on the various things that we know can happen through medications and the side effects and everything else, and the risk of the cancer and all these other things. And if you're on HRT and you're happy on that, fantastic, but I didn't want to do that. And I just needed an alternative, but I was that low. I thought, I'm going to have to consider this and really see what else can be done. And anyway, cut a long story short, after bursting into tears on the phone and not being able to get a doctor's appointment for weeks and weeks, I just felt so exasperated and completely at my lowest moment. The phone went again, and fortunately for me, it was a doctor, and they said, look, please do come in, we understand, and we'll get you sorted. But as soon as I read the side effects on all what could happen and everything else, I was like, I can't do this. As much as that, and that's when I turned to thinking, okay, what can I do? How can I rethink things? What actions can I do differently? And what do I know that has worked for me before? And what can I add in maybe a little bit more of and stay consistent with? And that's exactly what I can do. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope it's given you some really good ideas. And if you want to reach out, just don't overthink it. Have a great day. Bye.